I am more than breast cancer.
I am more than gastric cancer.
I am more than Hodgkin's lymphoma stage 3.
I am more than Lynch syndrome.
I am more than metastatic male breast cancer.
I'm more than PMDD.
I am more than diabetes.
I am more than lupus.
I am more than FAP.
Welcome to More Than a Diagnosis. I'm Den.
And I'm Jess. This podcast is about so much more than cancer, chronic illness, or the labels we've been given. It's about reclaiming our lives, finding community, and thriving in ways we never thought possible.
Whether you're a patient, a caregiver, or just someone curious about what it means to live beyond a diagnosis, we're so glad you're here.
When you're diagnosed with cancer or chronic illness, the world tends to shrink around you. Conversations can get so awkward, and support often feels really surface level. And suddenly we're navigating something huge with no real roadmap.
And that's exactly why we started this podcast, to create that space we wished we had when we were first diagnosed, because it feels so lonely.
Yeah, it really does. I think before we really jump into it about why we are building this podcast, I feel like we should probably start by introducing ourselves for folks who are just finding us or maybe don't really know too much about our background. So my name is Jess, and I'm 40 years old. And back in the beginning of 2023, I was diagnosed with invasive ductal carcinoma, which is a fancy way of saying I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and more specifically, triple negative breast cancer. And you, my friend, were also faced with a pretty major diagnosis.
Definitely, I was. Let's go back to 2019 when I discovered a tumor that turned out to be a desmoid tumor. And we discovered that I have a really rare genetic condition called FAP. And that was the beginning of a journey.
Yeah.
A really long journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I know we're going to talk all about that in future episodes for sure. But I think we should also tell people a little bit about us and why we're doing this podcast together. So we've known each other for, what did we say the other day?
Since kindergarten, the age of
35 years ago.
35 years. Oh, wow. That's so long ago.
We went to school together from the time that we were in kindergarten all the way through until we graduated high school. The same school. I was going to say the same prison.
Yeah, that's a very accurate description of what it felt like. Yeah, since kindergarten all the way through senior year, same school.
Yep.
Same teachers.
Yep.
Same students.
Yep. And I feel like it was like our junior and senior year especially. I feel like our senior year was the year that we got really close. Like we hung out a lot. We were in that play together. Like we really connected. I mean, we'd known each other all those years, and we were in all the same classes. We went to super small school. And so we were always friends, but I think that we really became friends, like close friends, I would say.
Remember, I'd go over to your house all the time and eat your food.
Yes. Because that was like one of the only places your mom would let you go. Oh man, we have some stories. I think we'll have to do a podcast episode of just like some funny stories from us growing up, because we sure have many. We
do.
Like the cows.
Oh no, we don't need to revisit that. It's such a sensitive topic that, It's really not that funny.
I mean, we'll let the listeners decide that one.
Or the
But
island.
oh
Remember
my
that
gosh.
one? The island?
Yes. So good. Oh my gosh. So many stories. But after we graduated from high school, like we kind of lost touch. Like there was no, like, we didn't have like a weird falling out or anything. I think our life just kind of went
No.
in two different directions. Not intentionally, but I moved away and you stayed put. And I feel like, I mean, throughout the years, we kind of stayed connected through social media when that came about, but that wasn't till later. We're that old.
Yeah, we're so old. But yeah, I feel like, well, I did attend your wedding.
Yes, you did. And then we had a couple of like, a time where we like met up with some old classmates and like other people that we had went to school with.
Yeah. At El Torito.
Oh yeah, that was gross.
Remember?
Yes, the food was
But I feel like that's one of the
disgusting.
last times I saw you. Oh yeah, it was bad.
Yes.
The drinks were okay.
Yes, it was.
But
yeah. The food was gross.
Yeah.
But I feel like that was the last time we had seen each other in person. But then, you always followed me on Instagram, but you were also kind of private. And so you didn't really post a lot. So I didn't really know what was going on in your life at that time. And we just kind of like, I had kids and, you were going to school and then doing the nursing thing. And our life just kind of went in two different directions. But then we reconnected when I got diagnosed.
I saw your mom's Instagram and she had posted, it was a Caring Bridge app. And she had posted about you and your diagnosis and a GoFundMe. And I remember being floored. And I'm like, is this real? So I quickly hopped onto Caring Bridge and I sent you a message. I want to say it was in March.
Yep.
It was in March.
Yeah, I think you're right. So that was 2 years ago.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And we've been inseparable ever since.
Literally.
But I reached out to you.
Literally.
And I think you text me or I text you.
I think that you text me and then I was just like, wait, what? And then we just kept texting every single day. And at that time, like I had no idea that you had been going through all the health challenges that you were going through. And I also didn't realize because, popped up on cancer drugs, I really didn't realize how much in the thick of it you still were with all the health things that you were going through. And I feel like we came into each other's lives, or came back into each other's lives. I feel at like the most perfect moment. I think that we needed each other more than we even realized. And I feel like we also just kind of picked right back up where we left off, fast forward from 18 to 38, like, we just picked up like there was no time lost. And, I feel like we have been able to support each other through some really major things over the last 2 years. And I always say that I feel super lucky because, you being a nurse, I felt so like held and supported because for me, I hadn't even gone to the doctor in like over a decade for like a checkup. And so I felt like I was pushed into the deep end of the medical world. And, I have a lot of medical PTSD from other stuff in my life. And so like just knowing that I could ask you anything and, you know, I always say that I feel like you saved my life.
Oh,
But, you know, I just and then, you know, I was sharing my story on TikTok and you were just like a silent observer there. Like you were watching my videos but you didn't post at all. And then
Nope.
and then I remember one day you said, I think I want to start posting on TikTok. And I was like, wait, what?
It's true. It's true. And, you know, back to what you were saying about us reconnecting and it feeling like no time had elapsed. I thought it was just magical because I was in a spot, in a position in life where I also needed you. And so many times I said to myself, you're the gift I didn't know I needed, you know, because I felt lonely and I didn't feel seen or heard when it came to so many of my issues, you know, and it was just so nice to have you and to feel supported and someone cheering me on saying, you got this, you can do it. And it became parallel journeys, I feel. We were going through the same thing. We were both struggling and we needed each other. I don't think we could have reconnected at a better time. I truly
agree.
don't. And I will forever be grateful for you. And I think from now on, we're going to be joined to the hip.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that there's any letting this go at all. But you know, I don't know about you, but I feel like that feeling of being seen and heard and validated in your feelings is something that I want everyone to experience who has gone through a major medical diagnosis. And that's why I started sharing my story on TikTok, was because I knew that I felt isolated and alone through what I was going through. And so I felt like, well, if I share my story, then maybe it'll make someone feel less alone. You know, I feel like if I could just share my story and make someone feel just a little less alone, and that could be potentially like life-changing, because I know it was for me. And so I feel like that's kind of what I hope happens through sharing this podcast. Is I hope that through sharing our stories that it helps people to feel less alone, because not everybody wants to talk about this stuff.
Absolutely. I didn't. Not at first. I know earlier you mentioned I was so private. I never envisioned posting on TikTok, making videos, talking about all of these intimate details about all of my symptoms and whatnot. There's just no way I imagined I'd ever be so open about everything going on in my life. And to a certain degree, I think that you, and this is going to sound cringy, but no cringe, okay? You really inspired me. You truly inspired me. I was able to see how open you were and how supportive you were to others. And you were really making such a huge difference in people's lives. And I wanted to do that too. And that's really what got me even thinking about potentially posting. And that's when I said, hey, Jess, I think I want to post.
I was so shocked. I was like, wait, what? You want to post publicly? Like, and it was, it still shocks me. Like, even though you've been doing it for a year now and you share your story in such a beautiful way, it's still surprising to me when I stop and think about it. Like that you went from only having a very private Instagram page that you hardly posted on to now having a public TikTok page where you share so much of what you're going through. But I think it's beautiful because what we've seen is the connection between the cancer community and the chronic illness community, and that there's a huge overlap. Because I know for me, I learned so much about chronic illness and about how much we had in common when I was going through my cancer treatments and you were going through all your stuff. I was like, wow, I didn't realize like we go through a lot of the same things.
We do. You were extremely nauseous because of chemo. I was extremely nauseous because, well, I had all of my digestive issues. And I was gassy, you were gassy. I had heartburn, you had heartburn. We had so many similarities between our symptoms, even though they were caused by two completely different reasons.
Yep.
And if you think about it, it's just fascinating
It
that
is.
our diagnoses couldn't be so different, yet so similar. And it's beautiful to see.
Yeah.
And,
I agree.
when I first started posting, I didn't think there would be a spot for me.
Yeah.
I'm chronic illness, rare genetic condition, to cancer talk.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a space for me. But lo and behold, I was pleasantly surprised because I fit in perfectly.
Absolutely. And I was so glad to see the way that the community has grown and changed and has realized that there is a crossover, because I think about like our friends who are stage 4 and that is a chronic condition. And I think that that's something that's not maybe readily talked about, is that stage 4 cancer is chronic. And the way that they live their lives is very much in line with like someone like you who has a chronic illness. You live with a tumor. No, it's not cancerous, but you're on daily medications and treatments for the issues that you have. Well, same thing for them. You were, comparing some of the symptoms that we had. And then also like you have an oncology team. And obviously if you've been diagnosed with cancer, you have an oncology team. You go and get IV hydration. We go get IV hydration. Like there's just so many crossovers that there is space in the community for us to come together and be able to support each other in such a beautiful way and be able to share about our experiences. So that leads me to talking about, why did we choose the name More Than a Diagnosis?
So when we, of course, decided we wanted to start a podcast, we just kept pondering and what's a good name? What's a good name? And I feel we both wanted to have a very impactful title, something that does not categorize us as sick individuals. We have personalities. We aren't defined by our illnesses. And oftentimes, I feel like we tend to own it and it becomes part of us. I've heard so many people say, my tumor or my cancer. And we oftentimes see people lose their identity, and it's now you're a walking tumor or you're a walking illness of whatever sorts.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's where we both connected and said, yeah. And then do you remember that when we first came up with More Than a Diagnosis, we realized that it was on my TikTok profile? Remember?
Yes.
It's literally the first 4 words on my profile.
Yes. I was
don't know if you
like,
recall that.
I do. I remember because we had a whole list of names. I'll have to go look in my notebook and see if I can find them. But we were like testing out all these different names and we are like, I don't know. And we kept coming back to More Than a Diagnosis. And then I don't know if it was you that discovered it or if it was me that discovered it, but one of us looked at your profile and was like, wait, it's literally in your bio. Like, I feel like this is meant to be. And that was it. Like, that was like, okay, this is the name. Like, we don't even need to discuss it anymore. This is it. We are more than a diagnosis because our diagnosis is a part of our life, right? Like it is not who we are, but it is a part of our reality and it is a very real part of our reality, but we are also so much more than that. And I think that it's just also fitting because I, as a cancer survivor and very much in the cancer talk community on TikTok, I did not want to just be a cancer advocate because I wanted to really find, create, and build a space that could be inclusive to folks who were dealing with all of the things. Because again, like we were just saying, we all have so much in common. And I think we all bring so many important things to the table that we need that. Like I've learned so much from you, not just because you're a nurse, but like through your own lived experiences with chronic illness. And I think that that is super impactful in a community setting to be able to learn these things from each other.
And the fact that, you know, you hold space for these amazing support groups every Tuesday, it's beautiful to see because we all have different experiences, but we all need community.
Yes.
So it's amazing that everyone comes together for these support groups and we all have different stories, but we all need each other. And through our experiences, it's pretty neat to see how well we connect. And I don't know, I feel like people really look forward to that space. You know, right now the world's on fire and we're still going through so much, even though there's many who aren't in active treatment. But when you're no longer in active treatment, it doesn't mean that everything's great and nothing's wrong. In fact, that's when I feel is probably even more difficult than going through treatment, because when you're going through treatment, it seems like you have a schedule, even though things change oftentimes, but you know what to expect to a certain degree. After treatment is when you're faced with reality and you realize maybe you didn't process what you were going through and you now are faced with having to live. And what does that look like? You know, and a lot of times it feels, I see that you're done with treatment, but now you're dealing with the aftermath of the treatment, like immunotherapy, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, hormone therapy. It doesn't stop there. And so it's beautiful to see everyone coming together talking about what they're dealing with after treatment or during treatment. And the chronic illness community saying, hey, I deal with that every day too.
Yes, exactly.
So neat to see the two come together and support each other.
It's so true because as a cancer survivor who is currently trying to navigate what life after treatment looks like, I think often a very unfortunate common experience is that when we're going through cancer treatments, we have all of this support around us, people always checking on you. You have, you know, people sending you gift cards. You have people sending you flowers and cards and all these things. And, you know, and then once you get that quote unquote clean bill of health, right, you're cancer free, in their eyes, that support seems to just poof and vanish. And I feel like what happens in community then, and what I'm seeing is that we're validating each other's experiences. We're lifting each other up. We're supporting each other through these times where we're often not finding that support in what we had when we were going through treatment. And then, like you said, for folks who are living with chronic illness, this is your reality every day. And it's been for however long that you've been diagnosed with this chronic illness. Like, this is something that you have learned and having to learn how to navigate and live with these things. And for us survivors, we're just thrown into it. And now we're trying to figure it out, and receiving the validation from folks like you who have some tips on how to manage these things is super important. And so I think that the community space that we have is so important and it's so valuable. And I'm really looking forward to, with this podcast, bringing on some of our friends and having these interviews where they can share their experiences too, because I'm no expert. I can talk about my own life. I can talk about my own experiences, but
Yep.
I'm not qualified to talk about what other people have gone through. And we don't all have these same experiences, you know? And so I think giving that platform to people to be able to share their stories is super important.
Absolutely. And I feel like the podcast and the support group, they kind of play off of each other, because what we talk about during support groups on Tuesday, we connected with the podcast and the support circle on our website. So it's all connected, which is pretty amazing if you think about it.
Yeah. I'm really excited to be able to have our support circles. So if y'all are unfamiliar, we have a website, morethanadiagnosis.org. And on there, we've created a private support group space that you have to sign up for. It's free because I believe that everyone should have access to community. And so it's a free space where my goals and visions and what we want to see happen is the conversations that we're having here on the podcast, the conversations that we're having on our support group space on Tuesdays gets continued in that space. Because I think one thing that we both really desire to do is to have honest and real discussions. Things about mental health, things about relationships, things about work, things about all the things that like maybe people might think are taboo, and be able to talk about those things on a deeper level. And so, you know, I think it's going to be a balance of us, you know, obviously having some educational content, but a lot of real talk. And I think that is kind of the space that we exist in, you know, having a good time and being able to like laugh about some of this stuff too.
Yes, the humor. Like we say, humor is the best medicine. If you
really
can't laugh
is.
about it, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I have to say, I think that it's like a little bit of a trauma response, but at the same time, I feel like it's what makes us funny, you know, like if you don't laugh, you're going to cry. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with crying, but sometimes laughing is just a better alternative. I mean, there's space for it, you know, it keeps things funny. It keeps things interesting. And you know, I'm excited to see what comes of this space. And, you know, I'm excited too, because our community is excited about it. And I think that, we've got a lot of really good things in store. And
Absolutely.
I think I'm excited to see it come to fruition too, because this is something that we've been talking about for a really long time.
Yeah, a really long time. It's pretty neat to see.
Yeah, I agree. You know, I remember when I was going through treatment and I was sharing on TikTok that I don't know if you remember this, but I just kept telling you, I know something is going to come of this, but I don't know what's going to come of it. I don't know what this is going to look like, but I know that there's a reason why I feel so like pulled to share my story and to be so vulnerable and talk about things that maybe not a lot of people want to talk about. And now sitting here wrapping up our first episode, it just feels so good because, you know, it can be so isolating to have been diagnosed with cancer or chronic illness. And I think more than anything, we just want our listeners to know that you're not alone and that your story matters and that your voice matters. And that, of course, you are so much more than a diagnosis.
Thanks for joining us on More Than a Diagnosis. We hope today's conversation left you feeling seen, heard, and maybe even a little more connected.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might need it.
And if you're looking for a place to connect with others who truly get it, join our support circle at morethanadiagnosis.org, where we will continue this conversation. It's free, it's welcoming, and it's built for you.
Because no one should have to navigate this alone.
Until next time,
keep living, keep growing, and remember,
you are more than a diagnosis.